having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. And I want to welcome you guys to drboycetv.com. drboycetv.com is the home for intelligent Black people, where we have intelligent Black conversations about all issues that matter to Black people all throughout the United States and the world. So today I have the honor of having a special guest and an old friend. She's not old, but she's an old friend named Nomalanga Mushali Moses. Nomalanga is all the way in Botswana, and so that's why we're doing this interview in the middle of the night, because she's such a great friend that I'm willing to stay up late to do the interview because it's morning over there. How you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, boys. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well, really well. Thank you for asking. And yeah, so I was one thing that got my attention today, and everybody as you come in, please hit the thumbs up button and the share and subscribe button. One thing that got my attention was you put up this interesting post that really sparked a lot of other thoughts that made me want to really ask you about a lot of things happening in the world, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's just start with the post. As you come in, by the way, please shout out your city. Let me know what city you're coming from. So you were basically saying that a lot of women claim to want husbands, but they don't really want husbands. They actually want, I think you said pets or accessories.
Yeah, we had combination of a pet and an accessory.
Interesting. So, okay, so you said that a lot of women, they say they want a husband, but really they want a pet, or really they want an accessory, just something that would just kind of go like that matches the outfit, right? Something that matches the story, matches the narrative. That really intrigued me. I thought that was interesting. Can you talk about that and what you meant when you put up that post?
Well, I find that a lot of women who call themselves modern, and now it's just global. It used to be that I thought it was American women, but I find that a lot of women say that they want husbands, but they have a lot of resistance to what a husband is, which is the first thing is you have to accept, if you're going to have a husband, that he's the leader, just like any team or any group setting. There has to be an identified leader that everybody understands is the leader. They don't even pass that first test. And this causes a lot of conflict down the line. Then the other thing is, in the advent of social media and Instagram and all these other things, people are interested in the optics. You see a lot of, beautiful pictures of a beautiful wedding and a handsome guy and, all of that. And they like that part of it where it looks so good and everybody's, oh my God, I'm so jealous and all this. But the reality that follows after that, they're really not interested in that. I also find people that are women, I'm talking specifically about women, they're unyielding, they're unreasonable, they're unpleasant, and they label it as strong, they label it as independent, boss chick. There's all kinds of labels for it, but it really comes down to the fact that they would really make horrible wives. And if they really thought about what it means to have a husband, they don't really want one. But, they do want somebody who loves them, fulfills their needs, but they just don't have a full understanding of what a husband is, what a leader is, and what it means to submit. I use that word deliberately, submit to a man. And research has shown, Boyce, over and over and over, the most stable and sustainable marriages are the ones where you lean more towards the traditional side of the husband being the leader of the family.
Everybody who just tuned in, I'm speaking with Nomalanga Mushali Moses, and we're talking about a few different things. One question that just really, has been hanging on my head for the last 3 or 4 days since Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion put out that song, which was actually a really great song. It had a great beat, and they're both excellent lyricists. But the chorus was, "There's some hoes in this house." And so it became this weird battle where it was like, the hoes against everybody else. And so because Cardi comes from a history of prostitution, stripping, and all kind, whatever else comes with that, she's been really putting, people from her space into the mainstream. Like, she's really going out of her way, which on one hand you could say, okay, that's cool. She's looking out for the people that she left behind. But on the other hand, the society's cool. Like, people are like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, we don't really want this promoted to our daughters, on a regular basis, because that comes with a lot of stuff. And so that just led to this question of, that I was asking myself. I said, I'm trying to figure out like where at what point did somebody say that, you know, I'm proud to be a hoe? And I think, you know what I think it is, Noma, is, and you feel free, I'm not even gonna ask you a question. I'm just gonna share a couple thoughts and you can just share whatever comes to mind. But it makes me think about when black men we started calling ourselves the N-word, you know, and we became proud of that, right? We became proud of the thing that used to be a sign of extreme disrespect. And I think that the women have kind of just taken on the energy of the men. And actually, I even studied. You don't know much about Megan the Stallion. She's a good rapper, actually. She's very talented and pretty and everything, but you know, just a little bit too much. You know, I think for kids, she should be on a porn site or something. She shouldn't be out mainstream. But anyway, she has a song that's basically a play on a Tupac song where Tupac used to have a song. He was like, "I guess I'll be a Nigga because that's what you're gonna call me anyway," right? And so she did a female version. She said, "I guess I'll be a Bitch because that's what you're gonna call me anyway." And so it almost seems like as much as we might have an issue with what the women are doing, it seems like the men we kind of created, or not. I say we, but I didn't do it. But
Collectively, yeah.
right, like we created the atmosphere for this weird, you know, behavior that's just not it's not a win for the community. Can you kind of talk about that, just as a person who's not raised in America? You know, you were raised around strong families, you know what that looks like. What do you really see when you kind of see some of that culture that's being promoted in the African American community?
Well, you know, even though I wasn't raised, well, I wasn't raised, born or raised in America, I did live there from 19 years old up until a year or two ago. You know, I've kind of lived an American life my whole adult life. So I do kind of understand, and I was trying to raise children in that environment. So I think, okay, so first of all, I wanted to answer when you said that she wants to give hoes power and all that. And you said, I guess that's cool. And I was shaking my head. I don't know if you could see me. I was like, no, it's not cool. No, it's not cool. See, the thing about prostitution is it used to be a woman was backed into a corner and she had to do what she had to do to feed herself, her children, or whatever it is. So it has never been cool. See? It's supposed to be a desperate position that you're forced into. And if you had another choice, that's not what you would choose. So there's nothing cool about it. And there's no reason to try and promote it as something that's okay, right? I learned very, very late in her life that Maya Angelou apparently at some point did dabble in prostitution. And she admitted it, but she did not try to make that her narrative that, yeah, I was a prostitute and it's okay to be a prostitute and I encourage other women to be prostitutes. That was not the narrative. She kind of just wanted to take the shame away from it. And she acknowledged that it was part of her life, but she didn't do what these women are doing. That's my first point. And then the second point is when you said that, you know, what is it, Nigga, then being equated to be a Bitch. Well, first of all, I've never believed that men and women are the same. I barely believe in equality. It's like I've started to not like that word because it's almost like when people talk about equality, they're trying to say that men and women are the same, and they're not. They never have been, and they never will be. And how you know that is that there was another story. Again, I try not to know too much about the likes of Cardi B and Meg the Stallion or whatever their names are. But I did see on my timeline a lot of times people were talking about one of those two women was shot or something. And then there was another narrative of, you know, Black men don't protect us, and how come this happened to her? Where are the Black men? They say that they want us, but they don't protect us. And I remember making a post at the time. I was like, there are conditions under which you can expect protection. And if you don't meet the conditions, you know, please leave us and our men alone. Mm. And it's kind of the same thing here. Because men and women are not the same. You never hear of a guy getting shot, and then all the men in that community say, "Where were the women? How did he get shot? You know, why weren't they protect?" It's so ridiculous, right? It sounds so ridiculous because men and women are not the same, and the expectations that we have for each other should not be the same.
Well, you know what's funny is you talk about that in terms of, you know, men wanting to protect women and things like that. And I'm a believer in that. You know, I'm old fashioned that way. But you know, if you're constantly disrespecting men and then saying, well, why aren't you coming through for me? You know what you sound like? You sound like those guys who are like, come on, baby, come on, sleep with me, sleep with me. And then when you say no, he's like, yo, bitch, yo, raggedy bitch. You know, like you're saying, you're telling her you want something from her, but you're disrespecting her at the same time. Well, you're not going to get something from a woman if you're being mean to her, like at least not a self-respecting woman, right? And so the same thing is true for men. If you, you know, I know a lot of men who are very protective of black women. If they see a woman in any kind of distress, they go out of their way to want to help. And I think that's a good thing. But if a person is just mean and nasty and just disrespectful, you walk away from that. And I don't blame them one bit. I advise them. I say, if you see crazy behavior with a woman, walk away. Don't you dare approach that, because that's going to ruin your life. Even when and I was even telling myself when I was single, you know, a long time ago, I remember I was thinking about, you know, like what I wanted to, you know, what my next move was going to be in terms of relationships. So I would meet women, you know, when I would start doing stuff, traveling places, I would meet a lot, like a lot of women, but I didn't want to get involved with a lot of women. I wanted to pick, you know, quality women, but I got to know them, you know, from here down. Right. And so I remember, you know, like seeing someone score. You ever have that where you're interested in somebody and their score just drops because of their behavior, and they don't even know that they've eliminated themselves from the competition, but you do. Everybody goes through that, right? Where somebody just talks their way out of.
Yes, we do it with our mouths. Women do it with their mouths.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of the big factors for me was if somebody like I would, for example, I would pay attention to how do you talk about your exes? How do you deal with your exes? You know, if you tell me I just got a divorce and I hate my ex-husband, I want to destroy him, I want his life to be ruined, I'm going to put his business on blast. You know, I remember specifically one lady who did
And
that.
take no blame for it.
Yeah, yeah, she took no responsibility and she put all her husband's business out there on social media. I said, "Oh, that's a no-no. I can't. I'm a private person. I'm a public person at the same time. If that makes any sense, I
Does
don't
make
I don't
sense.
need I need to be around people that will stay on code. You know, because I stay on code. I have stuff where I could probably tell a lot of interesting stories about people or maybe women I've known or whatever, but I would never do that because where I come from, you don't do that. Right. I don't care how much you think the person hurt your feelings or how much they did you wrong or what how they lied to you. I just could not imagine anything happening with Alicia that would cause me to go on social media and blast her and ruin her life and embarrass her. So when I see somebody behave like that, that tells me that you're like a suicide bomber. You know, suicide bombers, you let them inside the building and then they just explode and the whole building,
And
right?
kill everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a warning for everybody watching. Don't date a suicide bomber. You know, date people that know how to handle stuff internally so that you're not out here looking crazy if things don't work out. No, Malanga, what are your thoughts on anything that I said?
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I said, women, we talk our way out of relationships, and then we say, I can't find any good men. And the truth is, you found a bunch of them, and they ran from you. I say that all the time. Yeah, you ran into them, but they ran from you, and the only ones that stayed were the horrible ones. And then you have a series of horrible relationships with horrible men, and that reinforces the idea that I can't find any good men. So
Hmm.
yeah, and I mean, I do also have to say, boys, in the Black community, unfortunately, there's a lot of mental illness. There's a lot of people who are mentally ill that are undiagnosed, and they're walking around living what we perceive as normal lives, because they can get up in the morning, they can go to work, they're able to reproduce, but they have a lot of issues that go unchecked. And that's how you get a person who thinks that just because their feelings are hurt, they can destroy another person's life. Then the other thing is, oftentimes there'll be children involved in these scenarios, and they're not thinking about their children, whether you like it or not. Once you've had children with a person, some part of the child's self-esteem is affected by what you say about their parent, their other parent. So if you don't care enough about the other person, I would think you would at least care about your own children.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Sorry, you were talking. I mute myself whenever I'm trying to
I
bring.
know, yes.
Yeah, so do me a favor. I'm speaking to Nomalanga Mushali Moses. We're talking about, well, we're asking this fundamental question, like, why would a woman be proud to be a hoe? Also, when people claim to be looking for husbands, are they looking for husbands or are they looking for accessories? Are you looking for a pet? You know, do people even know what marriage and good relationships even look like? If you could do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe to drboystv.com, where we can have intelligent Black conversations. I didn't know how smart you guys were. We had the Black Stock Market Weekend this past weekend in Nomalanga, and I found out that 2/3 of the people in the Black Stock Market Weekend had graduated from college. You know, so I said, wow, this is great. We're really bringing together, you know, smart Black people that are just kind of tired of, you know, what they're seeing in the media. Like they're able to critically analyze this. And I think that there's a lot of hard questions that have to be asked, and they have to be asked in a way that you know that I'm a little rough around the edges when I when I bring stuff up sometimes. Like I'll tell you, yeah, I know that the controversy comes out, and I just don't run from it because it's who I am. I gotta be me. I'm good at being me. I'm not good at anything else outside of being me. I can't pretend to be somebody else. So so I was approached by some experts who actually pointed out to me, and this was something I wish I could have brought up in a better way, but I just threw it out there because I knew that if I talked about Cardi B or somebody that was really popular, I knew I was going to get a backlash. I knew people were going to be mad because we have celebrity worship. Studies show that Black people worship celebrities more than anybody else. Studies show Nielsen, when they're figuring out, like when white people are figuring out how to get money from Black people, they wrote in their report, they said African Americans follow celebrities more than other groups of people. So if you want to sell your laundry detergent, get a celebrity to use it. If you want them to buy a car, show a celebrity driving it. And it doesn't work as well for white people. It doesn't work as well for Asians. It works really well for Black people. So I knew that if I brought up Cardi B on any level, I knew that there's going to be a certain element of people that are just going to get mad no matter what. I can't really pay attention to that because that tells me you're not really critically thinking. But here's what somebody brought up to me. They said, you know, Cardi B suffers from fetal alcohol syndrome, or most likely they believe that she did. And I said, first of all, what, you know, explain that to me. Like, is that bad? Like, how bad is that? Also, what's your proof? So this person who's an expert on fetal alcohol syndrome, who diagnoses it, she looked at the face and she said, "Oh yeah, I see it. It's right there." And I did research on it, and they showed the face of somebody that has a fetal alcohol syndrome, and it's something about the eyes and the nose and having something.
I saw the post, yes.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like how with somebody with Down syndrome, they also have certain features that you can kind of tell by looking at them.
yeah, yeah. And I said, okay, so what's this? How's this relevant? And so what the person said is that a lot of Black children are more likely to be affected by fetal alcohol syndrome, and it only takes a little bit of alcohol to do it, and it messes up your brain. It messes up your. That's what allows you to have any type of like self-control or self-discipline. You know, so people that are really violent, or you know, like I remember Cardi B was ready to fight Nicki Minaj on the red carpet at some fancy dinner or something. They were like ready, you know, and or people that just aren't, if you don't have that prefrontal cortex. So they said that. So basically, they said that a lot of kids have it because what she said happens is that the moms will be drinking, like a lot of, especially like in that culture Cardi was in, that stripper, you know, crazy stripper culture. There was a lot of alcohol. Cardi loves alcohol. She named herself after alcohol. Her sister was named Hennessy, right? So I imagine their mother was drinking, you know, a lot of Hennessy, right? And they said that what happens is that women that are in that fast life, you know, a lot of times they get pregnant and they don't know they're pregnant till 3-4 weeks in, and the whole time they're turning it up, and their baby is consuming all this liquor, and the baby's getting fetal alcohol syndrome. She said it does not take a lot of alcohol to get fetal alcohol syndrome, so therefore that baby has brain damage, which affects how they live and how they think for the rest of their lives. I bet you there's millions of people out there like that. I bet you that a lot of the rappers, this might explain a lot of stuff that's going on. And I laid the post out and I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care if anybody gets mad. I want people to see it. And what happened was it became like this whole liberal, the liberals are like if you say anything that's unpleasant, they're like, oh, you're shaming, or oh, you're mean, or oh, you're, like, oh,
Fat shaming, slut shaming, there's all kinds of shaming.
right. So if you point out that maybe Lizzo shouldn't be promoting obesity and diabetes and heart disease to a community that then 3 months later is complaining that we're dying from coronavirus, well, because of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, right? Like, so we're just professional victims, right? We claim victimhood on both ends of the stick. When you hold us accountable and try to get us to do better, we claim victimhood. Then, oh, you're picking on me. Let me just be fat. Let me just be a fat slut, and everything, and everything should be okay. And then when there are consequences for that choice, then it's like, oh, I'm a victim because of the consequences. Well, you're a victim because you victimized yourself, right? You did this to yourself. Like, no one else did this to you. People tried to warn you, but you don't want accountability. You don't want personal responsibility, because white people told you that only Republicans are allowed to talk about, responsibility and accountability or whatever, right?
But that's also called respectability politics, and that's not allowed either in the liberal world.
Right. So I think overall, I knew what was going to happen, and I knew people. So the first thing they said was, oh, you're attacking a woman, you're attacking a Black woman. I'm like, no, actually, I'm protecting Black women. I'm protecting Black women that I understand, that I can relate to, that are in my community, that raised me. I'm protecting the Black women who don't want to be proud hoes, who don't think that your child is better if you choose to become a freaking prostitute. I'm talking about Black women who are upset because they have to compete against women that are offering their vaginas for, a Scooby snack and 2 cans of root beer. You know what I mean? Like, so I think, it's like, no, it's like I said, I don't care what you say. I'm going to fight you on this, because you know it's wrong. I know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. Cardi knows it's wrong. Right. In fact, then I'll lay this out there, and then I want you to talk, because I'm not even going to ask you a question. I want you to talk. I also mentioned this too, and this upset a lot of people, because truth hurts. People don't like truth. I realize that. I said, if you're running around here defending prostitution, the mass marketing of prostitution to Black children, a lot of their fans, I learned about Megan Thee Stallion from a 12-year-old, because all her 12-year-old friends follow these people. I said, so if you're promoting the right to be a proud hoe and to sell your body, I said, just understand that the men that are coming in and that believe they can buy your body cheaply, many of those men also feel like your children might be part of the package. Like, you can't tell me that if you are, pay attention, process this for a minute. You're a woman who's like, I'm a proud hoe. I'm selling it to whoever can buy me, Red Lobster or whatever. You can have this. You can have all of this. So, and you're proud of it because somebody taught you that was body positivity and strong feminism, and you're just doing you, living your best life. Okay, fine. I don't care.
Freedom.
But you got
they call it freedom.
Right. But you got all these men running through your house. All these men, they don't care nothing about you. No respect for you. They're paying for sex. Many of them are sex addicts. And you can't tell me they're not going to be looking at your daughter too, right? Especially when she's, a teenager. And so if you go talk to a lot of cops, if you talk to a lot of police officers who patrol this beat, some of y'all are cops, social workers in the chat. Feel free to say something if you're in this category. They'll tell you that this happens all the time. That when you're letting all these men around your children have a much higher probability of being raped. A much higher probability of being raped. So you can be a proud hoe if you want to, but you're affecting other people in the process. I'm done talking. Please go ahead.
You spoke exactly to my original point when you talked about they said that you were attacking women, which was exactly the opposite of what you were doing. And that was to my original point when I say that women who say they want husbands don't want husbands. Part of your job or your responsibility or your role as a husband is to protect your wife and your daughters and whatever female family member is under your protection. But if a woman misunderstands what protection is, she will see it as an attack. She will see it as being controlled. And then they say these words, these men are trying to control us. We want our freedom. They try, they're all these little narratives that look at protection and being held responsible and accountable. The fact is, a family is a unit. And in order to belong to a family, a strong, sustainable, respectable, successful family, and to do this over and over, generation after generation, is there are conditions. There are conditions. And if you can't adhere to those conditions, then you don't get a family with a male or a set of males who will protect you and keep you safe. If you don't want to listen to them, then you don't get their protection. That's just a very basic fact. So we can't say on one hand that women can do whatever they want. Okay, that's within reason, right? Because you're not talking about locking them up in a room and chaining them so that nobody touches them or sees them. But within reason. But there are conditions under which a man will offer his protection, and then there are other conditions where he can just be like, you know what, do what you want, but when it all comes falling down on you, don't call me. And also, I remember you saying that it's natural for a man to respond when he sees a woman in distress. And I've always thought that, but I'm now of the opinion that he has to use discernment. If she looks like a hoe, then stay out of it. Stay out of it. That's the life she chose. It's not for you. You can endanger yourself, your life, and be taken away from the people who actually adhere to your protection by trying to save a hoe. A self-proclaimed hoe. A self-proclaimed hoe. Let me just clarify that, right? Somebody who says, leave me alone, I'm independent, I'm strong, and whatever, the other rhetoric that they state. If that's the life they choose, then it's okay. Don't hold them responsible. Don't ask them to be accountable, but they should not expect protection. They should not expect you to come to their rescue when they inevitably get into trouble.
Yeah, I can't help but to agree with you. I mean, I think it's when you're talking about just that whole idea of protection. I mean, what's really sad is I feel bad for a lot of the women that that you might see that take on that persona, because I think that it's kind of a reaction, right? It's like how in a virus or something, or with an infection, your body does certain things because it's reacting to something, right? And sometimes the reaction can become very ugly. And so I really feel bad for some of the women, because what I really see in many cases is a little girl who was never protected by the first man she ever loved. So you'll hear that come out in the language, like, F these men, and these men don't care about you. You get your paper, get your coin, screw them, don't let them, and it really just comes from a place of pain. And so, it obviously calls for therapy, but we don't really do that. People don't want to talk about the need for therapy and make that investment. So people will just feed into your addiction. So what you'll have a lot of times is you will have, because of this pain, and you're numbing this pain, you're coping with this pain with these unhealthy ways. Like, for example, sex addiction. Sex addiction, can be just like addiction to alcohol or drugs. You're numbing a pain, right? And it's okay to participate, I guess, and do what you want to do. But I think that where the consequences come in is that sex is not, I don't think sex was meant for that, right? It's not meant for you. Just when I read about the biology of it and what it does to the brain of men and brains of women, and it's different. It's very different. Women have far more oxytocin receptors in their brain than men do. So women form attachments, they form bonds, right? So you are chasing this high, and you're this drug addict chasing the dope, and each time you're falling in love with your drug dealer. And then your drug dealer walks away, and then you're mad. Like I hate that. I knew these. So every relationship is nothing more than like Groundhog Day. It's like a constant repetitive reminder of why you hate men so much, because they keep disappointing you. Well, if you're selling your body and just presenting yourself in a very cheap fashion, then you're gonna draw the worst men, and you're gonna get the worst behavior out of the worst men. Which is different from the women that get the best behavior out of the best men. In fact, I'll tell, like, all the women that are listening, that care about this, that want to hear this.
I'm willing to listen.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I don't believe that there's such a thing as a good man, necessarily. I know men, of course, right? And the thing is, I believe a lot of men treat different women differently. Like if a man meets a woman who's his future wife, he's going to give her a type of treatment that's very different from the way he might treat a woman who presents herself as a hoe. You know, it's like if you go shopping, if you know that you're in Bloomingdale's, you're going to expect to pay a higher price. You're gonna be a different shopper than if you're in the dollar store. So basically, I think you got the women that are the Bloomingdale's women that are like, no, I truly am valuable. I truly expect a certain type of behavior. You have to earn whatever you want to get from me. I still like sex, right? We all do, but you're gonna have to, the process is gonna be something money can't buy. And then you got the women who just reduce it to like, okay, give me $100 and you can have whatever you want. And
sometimes nothing. Sometimes they don't require anything. Just let's go for it.
It's funny. The proud hoes in the Cardi B video. There was that one that Cardi interviewed that was really, really great to listen to. She was basically, it was really fascinating how she had really, I guess, altered. I'm not gonna talk about it in a way to say she was wrong, but she had a really, what I thought was a really strange perception of self-respect. Like she starts off by saying, F these self-respecting assholes, and she said, how you gonna have self-respect when you ain't taxing these dudes? When I'm not gonna cuss because Nomalanga's here. See how men's behavior, see what y'all know me. On a regular day, I might be cussing like a sailor, but Noma's in the building, so I'm gonna give you the clean version. But she does a lot of
Thank you. I
cussing.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But like she was basically saying self-respect means getting money out of these men. That if you have bills to pay and he's not paying your bills, then you don't respect yourself. And you know what's really crazy, Noma, is some of that I actually get. Like I've always felt like if a man is laying up with you and you're having financial problems and he's not helping, I don't think that's a real man. So it's real interesting how,
especially makes a twist. She takes it something that is actually wholesome and puts a twist on it. Yeah.
Yeah. She puts a twist on it in a way that was just nasty. Like it just, maybe we're just different, kinds of people. But I remember thinking that is like the most unattractive woman I've ever seen in my life, because you come off to me as a trashy, dirty, low price commodity. You're presenting yourself that way. So I wouldn't even, it doesn't matter. Like you could give whatever you're offering, you could give it to me for free and I still wouldn't take it for free. You could pay me to take it. I wouldn't take it. So what are your thoughts?
I actually agree with you. And I did want to say that, one of the attributes of a man protecting a woman is often providing for her. But again, there are conditions. Usually there's a commitment and an understanding that they're trying to build something together, whether permanent or semi-permanent. And that's a very different scenario than somebody who just uses you for one night and pays you and then moves on, and the next person can do that. So what she's trying to do is blur the line between those two things, that if he's going to get any benefit from being with you, he has to pay for it. The truth is, a woman has a lot of value that can't be quantified necessarily with money, that she brings. I'm talking about a good woman that she brings to a man's life. And any man who has a good woman in his life will attest to that, right? That a woman brings some value into his life that maybe sometimes men can't even articulate it, but they know that there's something that she's bringing into his life. And if she wasn't there, he would miss her, or he would want her back, and so on. So she's trying to blur the lines between those two things. Like, okay, if he's coming into my life, I'm adding value, but the only value that she's adding is I'm not even sure I want to call it value. The only thing she's adding to his life is a night of pleasure. And she's saying you should basically get compensated for that. And if you don't, you're stupid.
Yeah. I think I feel, part of me really feels sorry, for her, because she ain't happy. I mean, come on, there's no way on earth she could be, that you could convince me that she's happy deep down or that she's had a good life to this point. But it's kind of like it shows me also what happens when you don't have the balance that comes from having consistent interactions with both genders growing up. You really get, there are subtleties about dating and relationships that you don't pick up. So like I think about it to try to understand some of the women that don't make sense to me. I try to imagine a world where 70% of all the Black men did not have a mother, and you were only raised with your dad. right? If I was raised with my dad, there would be no nurturing in the household. There would be no understanding of what it, of how you should talk to a woman, or or just what basic things like what it, just all the little things that just come with having a woman in the house.
Something as simple, boys, as being gentle, because having a woman in your life teaches you that in some instances you have to be gentle, compassionate, caring, protective. And if you didn't get that, you wouldn't get that.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought about it. I said, if I first of all, if I'd just been raised by my father, first of all, it would have been a much rougher upbringing. Like I wouldn't have got the nurturing that my mother gave me, and I wouldn't have learned a lot of things about dealing with women. I would have eaten different. I would have done things different. Every day would have been like pizza and football and and the dirty house, and you know what I mean, just the stuff that guys do. And then what would happen though is I would probably still be attracted to women, but it wouldn't be a balanced way of kind of looking at it. I would think of women as something that I wanted, either so I could have sex with women, or so I could get what I was missing because I didn't have a mother. So either every woman I meet I'd either be chasing her to make her my new mom, or I would be thinking about only sex. Women would only be good for sex. So I think a lot of women that don't have the father and don't have a lot of male interaction, they see the value in men. They're attracted to men. They're like, but a lot of times you'll see where they see the man as somebody that brings money, or somebody that can be can give them what their father gave them, and then they're disappointed because unfortunately your father is one of those few men in your life, I think, for a woman that he will do anything for you and he's not looking for anything in return. Like, definitely not sex, right? So, you get out in the real world and you're dealing with men where it's like, oh, he's super nice to me, but then eventually he starts asking for something that you didn't think he was going to ask for. And then it's like, oh my God, I had no idea,
And he leaves.
wait, say it again.
And then he leaves, which your dad
Yeah.
doesn't do.
Yeah. So that's hard. I think that's really hard. And I think every little girl, I think, deserves to have at least one man in her life that would do anything for her, that isn't trying to sleep with her, because so many times, y'all see where people will just get it wrong. They don't understand the mind of men, that a lot of men, like, yeah, sure, I'll give you the promotion. I'll come over and cut your grass, and you're like, oh, he's so nice. And then one day he pulls his penis out and you're like, wait, I didn't, what, wait, hold on, what, so yeah, but these poor women, I just feel bad for them. I really do. But I had to talk about it because I'm sorry. I hate that you went through whatever you went through, but I don't want to sit there and co-sign on the promotion of prostitution to children.
What you just said is very important. You're saying, I'm sorry that you went through what you went through. And it occurs to me that a lot of times in our audience, which is predominantly African-American women, they can relate to some of the things that Cardi B and women who come from troubled backgrounds come from. They can relate to that. So I know there's the celebrity worship portion of it, but there's also the idea that when you attack somebody that I can relate to, I feel like you're attacking me.
Mm.
I often share that in my maternal family, we have polygamy. I don't push polygamy, and I don't support it. I don't want it for myself. I don't want it for my daughter, and so on and so on. But I have a much better understanding of it when it is done right. And I think sometimes people completely misunderstand it. And when people talk about it, I have noticed that it can be a bit triggering for me. Because again, they don't understand what they're talking about, and again, when they attack it, I sometimes feel a little bit attacked, and then I have to stop and think, okay, they're not attacking me. They're talking about the scenarios where it's not done correctly and women are abused. They're talking about the scenario where a man just actually wants to just enjoy variety and he's really not taking care of those women. And actually also, it's not the ideal thing. It's just not ideal, right? So I have to be able to kind of balance that out in my mind. But if I were much less emotionally mature, I would always just attack whoever was attacking it. and feel like, how dare you say that and all this, because again, you're talking about my maternal great grandmother or grandmother or whatever it is, and you're saying that she was stupid, that she shared, and she had no self-esteem, and she didn't. And I'm just thinking, that's not true. That how dare you say that about my grandmother? You see what I'm saying? And I feel like it's the same thing with some of these women. When you point out certain things and you say, you call them hoes, and you talk about their backgrounds, and it sounds just like some people's backgrounds.
Oh,
It's very triggering.
I didn't call them hoes. They called themselves hoes.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that. Yeah.
The chorus of the song is "There's some hoes in this house," and they repeat.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to make that clear. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yes.
They call themselves hoes, and maybe you complied, but the point, the overall point is that I sometimes have to pause and think why people. I mean, I get attacked because a lot of times I do sound like what liberals would call somebody who constantly pushes respectability politics. I don't know. I'm not even sure what that means, but it just kind of, I think, means that you can't talk about certain things without certain people feeling attacked. And if they feel attacked, they get to accuse you of respectability politics. But I've seen people, I mean, really, really, I mean, just lose their minds. And sometimes I'm thinking, do they realize I'm over here sipping my coffee and then I'm going to put down my laptop and have fun in my life? It's really, you know what I'm saying? You really shouldn't be losing your mind over someone's opinion or someone's expertise or experience or truth. But I am very, very aware now, maybe it's a part of my maturing process, that a lot of these people, when a lot of these women, let me be more specific, when you talk about some of these things that are absolutely wrong and we absolutely need to look into and change, you're talking about them, you're talking about their mother, or maybe every single woman in their family. And there's no way they can see it differently.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. By the way, I'm talking to Nomalanga Mushali Moses, and we're talking about a lot of stuff. Why a woman would be proud to be a hoe. We were talking about marriage earlier and stuff like that. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please hit the thumbs up button. If you want to follow me on Instagram, please follow me on Instagram at the Real Boyce Watkins. One thing that I did, so I agree with everything you just said. And a lot of people take things really personally. And I think it's, and also I was, when I look at, say, for example, since we're talking about Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, I see two people who live in a different world from me. I don't live in the stripper hooker world. I was born in a housing project. I have been, I lived in government subsidized housing until I was about 10 or 11 years old. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be poor. But I'm not a hood guy. I never wanted to be hood. I never wanted to, street thug, drinking, smoking, killing, prison. That was never of interest to me. I knew people that were in that space, but that I knew not to get out of that space because I was lucky. I had two parents that just really said, these are the things you don't want to do, right? So I think that when I hear the music and I hear some of the behavior and the rebellion and, just kind of saying, I'm going to be a hoe. I'm proud to be a hoe. I just want the money. I don't really want the love. I don't want anything else. I see a gender war, similar to what the white feminists have with the white men, this gender war that's occurring in a space that I don't live in. Like, so when they're talking, so like, it's like when Snoop Dogg used to talk, when they used to ask Snoop all the time, why do you say we don't love them hoes? And why do you say bad things about women? And he was basically saying, I'm not talking about all women. I'm only talking about the women that I run into in the strip clubs and whatever, who are trying to get my money and trying to do stuff. The Cardi B's. He was talking about the Cardi B's, right? And he wasn't talking about the Nomalangas. Right? So yeah, because Snoop was apologizing to Gayle King, but he still runs around, saying things about other kinds of women, right? But then I realized, also with Megan Thee Stallion and women that are in that space in general, what they represent, they're not really talking about I don't think they're talking about guys like me, because they don't date guys like me. They think guys like me are corny. Like I like to like read books and stuff, and they, I'm gonna try to marry you if I love you. I'm gonna definitely take care of my kids, right? And but instead, and I'm not kidding. This is real stuff. I remember, I remember I got my heart broken a long, long time ago, by a woman that dumped me and started dating a guy who toted a gun, who killed people, like literally would kill people. And I was like, I'm not gangster enough for you. I want to go to college.
Apparently,
I don't
yeah.
want to kill people. I don't want to slang dope. I don't want to do whatever you think is cool. I don't want to do none of that unless you think that studying is cool. So I got with a woman that fits who I am culturally. Alicia, when I knew her in college, Alicia was in the library. I met her in the library, right? I did not meet her in the club, right? So I think that it's about kind of knowing, like, Black people are not the same. I think that's something we just got to accept. And that if you got to know, like, am I the kind of person who needs to meet somebody in the library, or do I need to meet somebody in the club, or maybe you're going to meet them somewhere else, maybe online or whatever. But figure out who you are and match yourself with people that get your culture and get who you are, or you're going to step out of your space and whatever it is that makes you valuable is going to be devalued outside of that, right? So like, think about that. Like, imagine if I met, if I just magically fell in love with, Cardi B. I met Cardi B at a strip club or something, and I just, thought she was a really great person to talk to. Like, imagine how awkward that relationship would be. It wouldn't work. Like, she'd be like, wait, you speak with too many complete sentences. I don't like that. Like, that that's corny. I know I'm being such an ass right now. But really, like, it would be like, she got with a guy that gets her. And it makes me think about, I remember my friend Willie's a rapper with the Ghetto Boys. And he used to say, don't turn a hoe into a housewife. Right. And I think that is, as mean as it is, that's really true. And you see guys do that. You'll see guys try to turn a hoe into a housewife. It does not work. Or you'll see women try to, find some guy, they just scraped him up off the concrete like a piece of gum. And then you're trying to clean this guy up and make him into husband material. And he's not ready for that. So what are your thoughts? I'll let you get the final thoughts.
Yeah, you said something about value and devalued. And I know I always sound like a broken record, but you have to understand that women that come from a solid family structure tend to be valued. And just a petty example, where Snoop had to apologize to Oprah to Gail, because her husband, Oprah, is a very powerful person who would have made sure he suffered the consequences for whatever, so it just basically comes with the territory. Like, you can kind of understand as a human being that, okay, there's some people that I could, do whatever I want and nobody's coming for her. And then there's some other women who you completely understand that she comes from a place where she's valued. And if I don't treat her the way that she's used to being treated, it's not gonna, and if I do treat her that way, somebody's coming. I always share the example of one of my brothers and one of my cousins. One of my other cousins married a man who thought she was a punching bag. And one day they just took it upon themselves to meet him in a corner as you're staggering out of a bar and beat the crap out of him, and, and they did that every time. They eventually went their separate ways, but they wanted it to be clear that, our sister is not, you don't treat her that way. And even if she can't walk away, we're not going to let you do this to her, you see? And I'm not advocating that people should go around beating people, but that's just how it is. When men value a woman, if somebody else, another male, comes and tries to do something to her, there are consequences, and that's the difference sometimes between being valued and not being valued, or sometimes devaluing yourself. You can work yourself out of that situation. If you have men who care about you and protect you, and then you decide that you want to devalue yourself, you lose that protection.
Well, there you go. You said it all. Thank you for breaking it down for us, Nomalanga. I appreciate it. Where can people get in touch with you, by the way? Can they follow you on social media?
Yes, I'm a big Facebooker. And the Nomalanga show is coming back to Fly Nubian Queen. And that's also on Facebook. You can also find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. Those are the three main places, and I'm on Twitter as well at Noma Unlimited.
All right. So Noma Unlimited on Twitter and Nomalanga on Facebook. And you're going to have the Nomalanga show, which is on flynubianqueentv.com, which is awesome. Very awesome. Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you, Noma, for
Thank you.
breaking things down and providing perspective. And I hope you guys will also join me in thanking Nomalanga for her time. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us as well. I know it's right now with the time we're recording, it's late at night, but Noma's in Botswana, by the way, and that's why she's up. And some of you are around the world. Shout out what city you're from. Shout out what city you're chiming in from. And I'm out of here, guys. So have a good night and take care. And if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock yet, or if you want to get free stuff from the Black Business School, just go to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. There's a free training there. You can get started investing. There's a lot of money being made. So I hope that you will try it out. So firstshareofstock.com. So hit the thumbs up button on your way out. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Thanks a lot, Noma.
Thanks, boys. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.